This is section 11 from Postmortem America and the Empire of the Herd. Section 11 is entitled War and Violence as the Moral Code of the Universe. My epigraph is a quote from the movie Papillon with Dustin Hoffman and Steve McQueen, which was from the book by Henry Charrière, who in the 30s actually escaped from Devil's Island. But anyway, Degas, you remember what the chicken said to the weasel? Papillon. Well, if he was a healthy weasel, the chicken didn't get a chance to say a thing. Quote from movie version of Henri Charrière's Papillon. Our country has turned into a nation of sick weasels. That's my response. In Italy, under the Borgias, they had warfare, terror, bloodshed, murder. They produced Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and the Renaissance. In Switzerland, they had brotherly love and 500 years of democracy and peace. And what did that produce? The cuckoo clock. Every normal man must be tempted at times to spit on his hands, hoist the black flag, and begin slitting throats. H.L. Mencken. There is no such thing as murder on the literal level. There is only one animal killing another. Only precious human life is precious. One of the worst, most destructive myths today is that all life is precious, or all human life is precious. Are cockroaches precious life? They're not part of any ecosystem, which means that if they disappeared, it would not have a negative effect on any other life forms. Is a mako shark precious life when he is eating you? All human life is not precious. Precious human life is precious, and there has been precious human life throughout the course of human history. Most people on the planet are more simian than sapient. The truth is that most people should be cremated while they're still alive. I'm very pro-abortion. I believe in abortion for most full-grown adults. Soylent Green, Soylent Blue, Soylent you. Every man who has escaped the feminization at work in PMA today wants to fight in war and wants to kill other men. Every such man wants to be tested in war and by war. Every man who has yet to serve in or near combat is insecure and worries about how he will actually perform in that situation. Until he starts shooting in live combat, he will never really know whether he will perform like a man or will chicken out. Men are terrified, like Conrad's Lord Jim, that they will fail or fall apart. In the back of their minds, they wish they could try. The universe is based on violence. Violence is the fundamental operational principle of everything that lives and everything that even exists. Lions are serial killers, and so are panthers, cheetahs, crocodiles, hawks, and eagles. A serial killer is healthy and far more normal than a person who has a sex change operation, even though there's no such thing as changing one's sex. Nothing is sicker, more bizarre, more demented, more perverted than plastic tits and liposuction and Botox. These are the perversions, not killing. Killing and violence are the nature of the universe and therefore are healthy and normal by definition. The universe is based on violence. Violence is the ethical system of the earth and the morality of the universe. I'm not saying everyone should be killing everyone else. What I am saying is killing is normal and should not have fear or self-righteous moralizing attached to it. We can't have free-flowing killing because it would harm the Commonwealth as a whole, not because it is immoral. Decline and fall of the American Empire. Human history is the history of war and the inevitable byproducts of war, slavery and genocide. War among humans, whether individuals or societies, is as normal and natural as grass-colored green and sky-colored blue. When a successful, powerful society begins to pine for peace, when it begins to moralize about war and violence, from a Christo-Judaic moral view of the world, it is the beginning of its end. The great thing, that's decadence. Decadent people want safety and security. They don't want to have, they want to be absent of fear. They want to get rid of anything that might cause them fear. The great thing about Christianity for Europe and Western civilization is that kings, princes, generals, and warriors lip-serve Christianity but completely ignored it in practice. Kurtz's speech at the end of Apocalypse Now. This is important. This is big. Okay? This I consider to be big. Quote, I remember when I was with Special Forces, we went into a camp to inoculate the children. We left camp after we had inoculated the children for polio, and this old man came running after us, and he was crying. We went back there, and they had come and hacked off every inoculated arm. He's talking about the Viet Cong. There they were in a pile of little arms. And I remember I cried. I cried like some grandmother. And then I realized like I was shot with a diamond bullet right through my forehead. And I thought, my God, the genius of that, the genius, the will to do that. Perfect, genuine, complete, crystalline, pure. And then I realized they are stronger than we are because they could stand that. These were not monsters. These were men, trained cadres. These men who fought with their hearts, who had families, who had children, who were filled with love, but they had the strength to do that. Unquote. Message alert, message alert. You have to have, quote, you have to have men who are moral and at the same time who are able to utilize their primordial instincts to kill without feeling, without passion, without judgment, because it's judgment that defeats us. Unquote. My comment. We must recreate Western mankind such that most men are like that, or at least that we can still produce men like this. It is feminism and the increasing influence of women on public political policy and society as a whole who have blasphemed about war and brought about upside down and backwards change of attitudes. If this country was invaded by a foreign power and the invaders were running wild all over our geography, women would be screaming in favor of the men turning into wild savages and barbarians to defeat these invaders and get them out of the country. To be unwilling to deprecate war by ignoring the feminine lies does not mean any man ever has to fight in a war again. What is destroying Western civilization is this psychotic lunacy that we can someday, somehow do away with war forever, and from then on peace will reign. This is one of the fundamental tenets of better worldism as practiced today. The desire to do away with war itself, that is harmful to society in general and to masculinity in particular. Men need to be trained more like warriors in ancient Sparta were trained, so they can get back in touch with their masculinity and express it in a healthy way. Watch violence and violent crime virtually disappear from the society if men were encouraged in this direction. Weak people are attracted to peace. Strong people are attracted to war. It's almost a kind of test. Achilles was attracted to war. Odysseus was attracted to war. Aias was attracted to war. Idiot. But these are all mythological characters. Me. Yes, but they function as the model. Unquote. That's why Homer and Greek culture created them, idiot. Weak people are attracted to peace. The ancient Greek city-states epitomized the strong. They enjoyed waging war to such a degree that they viewed it not just as war, but as a form of recreation, as a form of sport. To the Greeks, warfare was a form of sport. They viewed war as recreation. Killing and dying came easy for them because they were strong. In fact, the Olympic Games were created simply so that the Greek warrior could take a break from blood and guts type killing. That's the main reason they had it only every 4 years. The rest of the time, they could wage real bloody, gut-filled war. The ancient Olympics were a reprieve from the blood and guts. Even the gods got tired of blood and guts on occasion. The Olympics were a less violent metaphor for war. Plenty of injuries, deaths, maimings, cripplings, paralyzings occurred in the course of competitive Olympic wrestling, boxing, javelin hurling, and discus throwing. Track and field, my favorite sport. Events all test skills that can be applied to war. Shot put, javelin, hammer throw, pole vault, long jump, marathon, actually invented in a war. Hurdles, sprints, every event is applicable to skills of use to the warriors of that era and of all eras. If I'm running after trying to kill you with my sword, my sprint speed compared to yours determines whether I will live or die. A discus, a javelin, a shot put were actually implements of war in ancient times. If I have to scale a large wall or ford a river too swift to swim, the ability to pole vault can be very useful. Weak people are attracted to peace. Strong people are attracted to war. Your opinion of war is a test of who you are as a person and in terms of your possession of character in the stand-up moral sense. Your attitude toward war is a test of your worth as a real, whole, complete person, male person, rather than as just a fraction of a person, which is what the vast majority of people in society are today. You view war as a test. It's a test of how much fight there is in you and fighting spirit, how much spirit you possess, fighting spirit, and how much life force. Your view of war is a test to not be a slave. You fail. Weak people are attracted to peace. Weak people are attracted to peace. Strong people are attracted to war. American democracy has become a factory for producing weak people. Americans as individuals are simply the weakest people in history. They are a symbol of decadence for all humanity for all time. American democracy has made individual weakness into a philosophy of life. Thus, lefties in America, all Americans are lefties regardless of a valid political party or position along the political spectrum, whine, whine, whine about a great army of the underclass securing their supply of chocolate truffles, Victoria's Secret sexy panties, SUVs, nose hair trimmers, paint for the toenails, and etc. Killing is life affirming. Not necessarily for the life being killed, but certainly for the life form doing the killing and for life overall. Loyal and patriotic Americans need to start making their own fully automatic assault rifles, handguns, and ammunition. That will put an end to all this gun control psychosis. Peace is boring and there is no justice. Killing is the final test of conviction, the only way of saying must. If you're not willing to kill people for what you believe in, then you're just blowing wind. You're just passing gas through your mouth instead of through your ass. The world today is full of posers and liars who want to believe they believe in something, but would never go through the motions or do what it takes to actually believe in something. Just look at all the people who walk around wearing Che Guevara t-shirts. How many of these posers do you think would be willing to struggle and fight in the mountains like he did, suffer the other deprivation he and his companions, compatriots did, risk the threats to life and limb he did? Not many. People who wear Che Guevara t-shirts are saying existentially, I am not Che Guevara, or anything close to a Che Guevara. If I was, I wouldn't be wearing this shirt. I'd be doing Che Guevara things. Does anybody think Che Guevara would ever wear a Che Guevara t-shirt? I don't think so. War is life affirming. This is a quote from Oswald Spengler in his short book, Hour of Decision. Quote, there is no getting away from it. Conflict is the original fact of life, is life itself, and not the most pacific pacifist is able entirely to uproot the pleasure it gives his inmost soul. Theoretically, at least, he would like to fight and destroy all opponents of pacifism. People love war. People love violence. People are fascinated by the blood and guts of other people, sometimes also by the blood and guts of their spouses. The only way this will change is if we develop a society wherein a computer is implanted in each infant's brain at birth, so that all its thoughts and feelings can be completely controlled by whomever controls the computer government, which is exactly what we're moving towards in this country. The main reason violence and killing are coming out in completely historical, unhealthy ways is due to the chasm between what we claim we feel about war and violence and the reality of our inalienable lust for blood and guts, which most mammals share with us. War is beautiful because it initiates the dreamt of metallization of the human body, quote unquote. That's a quote by F.T. Marinetti, one of my heroes, one of my literary heroes. Life is about violence. Life is all about violence and killing. You could almost say killing is the meaning of life. Life is war. Life is supposed to be war. Anyone who cannot accept this fact or take issue with it are the weak, the slaves by design, Mother Nature's losers, the prey, the victims. Women. Peace is a temporary respite from war. The Greeks made war upon each other for recreation. Love, therefore, is more rare and therefore all the more precious. Love is a repose from war. Love is the exception to the rule of war, not the rule itself. It's possible to kill out of love in many ways. Here's a test for the slave class of a healthy society. Assertion that life is war is proving their worthiness for slavery, or else they are the money suckers trying to trick you. Opening credits scene of Sam Peckinpah's film The Wild Bunch. A dozen kids sitting in a circle in a door enjoying some spectacle we can't see yet. Close up, we see they have set up a little pen with rocks and sticks. And there are hundreds of army ants or red ants devouring a large scorpion. Close up of the kids' faces as they smile and laugh, enjoying the spectacle. Like baby chicks in a barnyard, pecking to death one chick with some slight impediment, like one leg slightly shorter than the other. This is the way of the world. You can civilize people so that they refrain from behaving this way, but you cannot call behaving that way evil or wrong. We outlaw certain behaviors because they are more destructive of society's organization, not because they are evil or immoral. This fiction part of our moralizing is harmful to us. Visitors from another planet would enslave us and experiment upon us. Make no mistake about it. If intelligent beings from another planet visited us, our entire species would be either enslaved or extermination, or a combination of both. It's the law of the universe. The movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind demonstrates that people have transferred belief and faith from gods to aliens. The universe is Darwinian, just like the Earth is Darwinian. The reality would be just the opposite of the bullshit view peddled by Steven Spielberg in idiot culture movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The movie was created to help members of the American herd feel safe after letting their god die off on them and starting to think more and more about aliens visiting us as a way of making contact with the supreme or the mysterious. If aliens were advanced enough technologically that they could travel across the universe to get to us, they would certainly be more technologically advanced than us militarily to destroy us. And if so, they would not be visiting to buy us some ice cream. Sam Peckinpah's doctrine that masculinity, manhood entails rituals of violence. Masculinity and manhood are all about two abilities: the ability to fight and the ability to fuck. Jack Nicholson playing Randall Patrick McMurphy in Milos Forman's film version of Ken Kesey's novel One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. All else is sideshow. Cruelty is life-affirming. Empathy is not, nor is pity. That doesn't mean we shouldn't feel empathy or express it. Doesn't mean we shouldn't feel pity or express it. War is recreation for the strong. War is recreation for the strong. Eating is recreation for the weak. And Americans eat as much as any population of disgusting fat bodies ever has. Killing is the final test of conviction. Killing is the final test of conviction, the only way of saying must, the only way of proving rightness. The history of the world is the history of the tiny minority of people who had the courage to embrace that truth. Don't preach at them, don't argue with them, kill them. George Bernard Shaw, from Major Barbara. Hate keeps a man alive, it gives him strength. Colonel Lewis Wallace, Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ, 1880. For a strong man who seeks to grow in strength until the day of his death, hate is one of the most important feeling states. This is healthy hate. It's hate a man has total control over and can direct in any direction he chooses. The hate accompanying a state of ressentiment is the opposite of a healthy hate. The man of ressentiment has no control over his hate. His hate is mostly directed at the single object. He has no control over the target of his hate. Therefore, he does not control his hate. His hate controls him, and usually it controls him completely. That's also the nature of ressentiment. Those who live by the sword shall die by the sword. Tell that to a Viking. Sex and war. We exist on this planet for one reason, to have sex. But war is more important than sex. How could that be? War is the most important thing in life. Sex is the second most important thing in life, after war, of course. Why war? Because war determines who gets to have sex and who does not. Think of grizzly bears up in Alaska or bighorn sheep in the Rockies. About lions out in the Serengeti Plains in Africa. They fight brutal battles to decide who gets all the females. In nature, it's winner takes all. In this country, Mr. Bentley, the man who brings victory in war is valued above all other men. It's a quote from Prince Faisal in David Lean's film version of Lawrence of Arabia. In hoplite phalanx warfare, there's no skirmishing, there's no guerrilla tactics, no night tactics. Chance is pretty well out of the picture. The chance is simply how tough you are and how willing you are to stand your ground. I love that quote. I love it. This is from a documentary called War and Civilization, the section called First Blood. It was, I got it from the History Channel sometime years ago. Life is total war, my friend. Nobody has the right to be a conscientious objector. Alexander Brefour and Billy Wilder. That's actually a quote from Billy Wilder's film, Irma la Douce. I can't remember who wrote it. Perception of an enemy's power is more important than their actual power. Doesn't matter how much military prowess we have in defending ourselves against terrorists. What matters exclusively is their perception of how much strength we possess to defend ourselves against terrorists. If they perceive that we won't defend ourselves decisively, or that we will provide a weak, ineffectual response, as we have been doing for the past 24 years, they will come after us. If they perceive that we will hunt them down to the last man and destroy them to the last man, that we will be proactive and preemptive in defending ourselves from terrorism, they will be much less likely to bother us, let alone attack us. A female president would be a green light for terrorists to crank it up loudly, to really come after us. Men in Arabic Islamic societies, especially the radical wing that is producing most of these terrorists, suffer from wounded and insecure masculinity to begin with. They fear and resent women generally. That is why women are degraded in most of their societies to the point where they are less than second-class citizens. They value men who bring victory in war above all other men, to quote the line from T.E. Lawrence. They perceive that a woman cannot bring victory in war. It's a form of ego defense that defends against their fear of femininity in general. It doesn't matter whether any of these conclusions are applicable or not. They perceive it, and that is all that matters in terms of our effectively dealing with this problem. With Hillary Clinton as president, we will have 9/11 on a monthly basis. Guaranteed. Life is struggle. Life has always been struggle, and life must always remain struggle. When human life ceases to involve struggle, human life begins to decay to death. Gun control constitutes majority faction. Any attempts at gun control or attempts at making laws pursuant to guns constitutes very obvious majority faction.